All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and welcome. Whether you're catching this live or you're watching the replay, really glad you're here. This is a super exciting kind of first pass opportunity for me. I've participated in many podcasts, but never hosted one. So I'm very grateful for our hosts that have agreed to join me today, a very prolific cast of characters, leaders in the outdoor hospitality industry that I think are going to have some tremendous insights to share with you today. So before we get into kind of the format of what we're going to do today and the why and what we are doing, what we're not doing today, I'm going to go ahead and let this fabulous group of gentlemen and lady introduce themselves to everybody else. Go ahead, Erin.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you all. My name is Erin Stevenson, and I'm the VP of Growth and Customer Experience at Newbook. What Newbook is, well, we're a platform that provides campground owners an all-in-one reservation, operations, and guest experience platform that really helps you run your park more effectively and grow more revenue opportunities. So great to see you all today.
Hey, Garett, take it away.
Good morning, Raf. Thank you. Garett McKinnon, Campground Views. I'm the CRO for the organization. We do video virtual tours of campgrounds across the US and Canada, just giving the camper the opportunity to drive through the park in a full 360-degree video virtual tour and experiencing, every aspect of the campground itself. So looking forward to the conversation. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Michael.
Hey everyone, Michael Scheinman here. I'm CEO of Campspot. Campspot is a technology platform that serves about 3,500 campgrounds in the US and Canada. And we've got 3 products. We've got Campspot software, which, like Newbook, is a reservation and property management software for campgrounds to operate their business and maximize their revenue. We've got the Campspot Marketplace, which is one of the leading campground OTAs, accounting for about 10% of all online bookings for campgrounds that use it. And then we've got Campspot Analytics, which is our proprietary business intelligence platform.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. And to introduce myself, Raf Correa, I'm the president and CFO of Blue Water. We are an outdoor hospitality and traditional hospitality owner, operator, and investor. We also develop properties. We have been in this industry now for about a decade and a half. We love it. We're committed to it. And I'm here today, with this little background on where this whole conversation was born out of, was I have been on an absolute search for knowledge and information about AI, and specifically the AI use case for outdoor hospitality. I have been reaching out to my peer network and basically anyone that'll take my call and will talk to me to learn more about AI and what its potential ramifications are. I could have called all 3 of these folks, and in full disclosure, these are 3 companies that I leverage their services heavily to support our portfolio and gotten this information. But instead I thought, wow, wouldn't it be a great idea if we make this an open conversation so that others can share in the learnings of where we all are in this journey? Because the reality is that AI today is an evolving state. The tools that were great yesterday are being replaced tomorrow. And we're all just trying to keep up and understand the appropriate use cases of how we can leverage them to level up our businesses. But it's not, what is this LinkedIn Live intended to be? It's definitely not intended to be a step-by-step guide. It's really intended to be, here's how 3 different companies, 3 different leaders are leveraging the tools today, what the opportunities they see, and kind of the encouragement and hopefully inspiration to others out there that are curious and want to learn more about this toolkit. So I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm excited to see where this conversation went. I will fully admit I came into this with a plan. We had a powwow 2 days ago, and the old Mike Tyson saying is everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. And but we all kind of came together and we kind of re-engineered the entire format of this, and I'm super excited. So I'm going to open it up with a first question. Then I'm going to throw it to Erin and let the gentleman chime in after that. But why don't you guys start by giving us a quick background on what AI tools you're using at your respective organizations today?
Yeah, thanks, Raf. I think for us as an organization, it's not just a side project for us. It really has been something that we didn't just want to do as a bolt-on to our product that we already have. And I think behind that, it's a really important mindset shift for all of us. When people hear about AI, they often jump straight to a chatbot or replacing human interaction. But for us as a company, it's really quite the opposite. Our goal has really been about not making the experience less personal for customers or for our team, but it's actually to make it more personal by freeing up our team's efforts to focus on the things that really matter. So for us using AI in our teams and for our customers, a lot of the impact is actually happening behind the scenes. And it's really about quietly improving how the work gets done across our business. So across our business, of course, we've done a lot of deep dives and we've used several platforms because we have realized that not every team works the same, and that one size fits all approach really won't work when it comes to a tech company like us. So we use Claude, we use ChatGPT, Glean, and Gemini across the company. So we really are focusing on the right tools for the right kind of job. But where we're seeing the biggest impact, I think, first of all, is in product and engineering productivity. A really big focus for us this year has been about asking, how can we move faster without sacrificing quality? And AI is embedded into our software development lifecycle, from planning to writing code to testing and even incident response. So that means our teams can really ship new features faster, fix any issues that might come up, spend more time innovating instead of doing that repetitive work. And it's really helped create more consistency in our code and cleaner documentation across the platform, which ultimately even means further improved tech and support for our customers. Another two areas that we've kind of really leaned into is around support and data insights. So our customers, like everyone else on this call, they want answers faster and they want better access to their data. So by connecting AI into our support platforms and in our internal teams, our teams can really surface like that right type of information really fast and respond to any support requests quite fast. And then third, as I mentioned, this area is one that I think is heavily missed by businesses. And it's actually around coaching and training for frontline teams. So something that we've done as a business is we've started using an AI coach within LinkedIn Learning. And that's to help teams get some practical kind of critical human thinking skills around customer service conversations, problem solving and feedback. So it's not taking the responsibility away from leaders to coach their teams, because we have that as a big cultural piece in our business, but it actually strengthens it, and it just creates a safe place for people to really practice real scenarios with an AI coach solution. So I guess when we're thinking about AI, it's not just, as I said, a chatbot or adding something on. It really is the back end of our platform, how we can get some cleaner data, faster responses out to our customers while building tech, but also how do we get our team members to actually use it a little bit more.
So what I heard there, Erin, is all the new Newbook features are going to be coming out faster and better than ever before.
That's what you had. I mean,
Perfect.
that's what we expect from AI and technology, right? But again, as you mentioned at the start, it is an evolving space that changes rapidly every day. But it's up to us as businesses to lean in on that and start to learn more and more that we can and see how we can really emphasize what we're doing.
No, it's a great point. And the reality is too, I mean, this is outdoor hospitality, right? There's a gigantic moat around, my level of the business related to how we service customers. Because at the end of the day, hospitality it's a sacrifice of service, right? It's not just delivering a product, and you can't just AI that into existence. Hospitality is a human to human thing. It will be that way for a long time. I never want to say never, but it's going to be way longer than it's going to be in a lot of other industries to kind of replace that kind of connection, if it ever does. Yeah. And so it's, I know a lot of people want that customer facing AI. They think that's where the holy grail is. But the reality is that it's in the background, improving everything that they do get right? On that they are the recipient of.
Yeah.
How about you, Garett? What's
Yeah,
going on in Campground Views? What kind of tools are you using? How are you leveraging them?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think, kind of, if you were to ask me this question a year ago, I would say, we lean into ChatGPT, and, here we are less than 12 months later. I'd say we don't even really touch ChatGPT anymore. It's a service that, we kind of found as I don't want to say an entry level AI tool, but we've evolved in what we've realized we can do and we can accomplish with AI. So we've moved more towards Gemini, Grok, Manus, Claude, and we're really starting to use it on the back end as far as like our web development and our data reporting and our analytics system. We rely a lot on, looking at what the users are doing online when they're interacting with our video virtual tours, right? So AI is allowing us to build tools that get us deeper into the journey of what the guest is looking at while enjoying our technology. So for us, it's been a bit of an evolution. I mean, we have a fairly lean team, which has also helped us out significantly. We've gone down the journey of looking at bringing in a couple of additional team members, and through the evolution development of AI tools, and my partner Mark, who many of you watching probably know him, he's leaned heavily into learning and finding the kind of what's available to him that he can use to help our company grow. And I don't want to say that we have used AI to replace anyone, but we have definitely used AI to possibly help us from not hiring the wrong individual and being able to accomplish some of the tasks that we need to do in-house, as opposed to maybe a fractional person or a full-time role. So it's been powerful for us that way. And again, the tools that we use today, I can't guarantee you that 12 months from now we're going to be using those tools either. But we are deep into development with the tools that I've mentioned at this point.
That's awesome. I appreciate that color. And, one of the things that force multiplier that this tool can really become for folks, especially for small teams, like you're describing, I think that's an important fact and why this tool is so important. So curious, Michael, obviously your business is unique in that you are a PMS, but you're also a booking platform. You kind of have a multi-pronged approach to kind of how you're approaching the technology space of the outdoor hospitality industry. And you have a relatively large team. So like on your side, what tools are you using and kind of how is that evolving for you guys?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Erin more on the point that it's not a one size fits all approach. We'll have about 150 team members by the end of this year, and they range in department, skill set, experience level, and also AI applicability. So we've sort of taken a three-prong approach to AI tooling and capabilities at Campspot. One is on faster development, because that's primarily what we're in the business of doing, is producing more value for customers faster. Second is on trying to streamline work that we were already doing and be able to take more manual processes out of the day-to-day work of people at every level of the organization so that they can focus on really thinking instead of just doing. And then the third, which maybe is the one I'm most excited about, is using AI to create things for customers that we couldn't before. And so briefly on each of those, on the building things faster, Raf, I know you want features faster, so holding the tech team to the fire there. It is the largest team at Campspot. And so, we're really pushing hard on utilizing the different tools out there. And interestingly, for those who aren't as familiar with development tools, there's the actual platform that they're using to write code. And then there's the underlying model, the AI model that's helping them. And so there are different options for both of those. And we actually allow the team to choose whether they prefer Cursor or Copilot or Claude Code, and then which underlying model that they prefer. And that's improved our dev productivity by at least 40% in the last year. On the internal efficiencies and just doing things faster, we have an enterprise license to Gemini, so that's what every Campspot employee has access to. We also have been doing the ChatGPT Pro licenses upon request, And then our leadership team has recently started using Claude Cowork, which I personally have spent 40 hours in the last week just playing around in there.
You too.
You too. The part I'm most excited about, though, is things that we couldn't do before, like we've always wanted to, but the technology is just now catching up. I think the best use case for our business is producing revenue management and pricing recommendation tools for customers.
Yeah.
Like, this has literally been a vision that we've had since long before I came to Campspot, and we just couldn't pull it off because it's just so much data and so many nuances to the individual campground that needs it turned into an actionable recommendation. And just in the last year, we've been able to apply data science, machine learning, and AI to 10 years of market data and actually create our first version of a true campground pricing recommendation tool, which launched in beta in November. So that's the part that really jazzes me up, because every software company in every industry is going to be using AI to speed up development. It's up to us and our unique businesses to figure out what actual products we want to invent with AI that we couldn't before.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly exciting. I think about it from my perspective as again, the user of a lot of your products. I have some of the best revenue managers in the world, and they're, at the forefront leading this space, and they manage, significant size portfolios of assets. And the more readily available data and information is, like, and I think about it from their perspective, and I think about it from the owner operator campground owner perspective, because they got 1,000 things to do. They're the chief engineer, they're the operator. They need data and insights at their fingertips. They need to speak in plain language. They can't be, they don't need to have coding expertise or database management expertise. They're going to need these things more readily available. And that's where the pace of this is going to improve the overall service level I think we're going to be able to give guests down the line. So yeah, just to share a little bit about what we're doing here at Blue Water, we're currently running a micro pilot with a very small handful of folks. We've tested a few different LLMs. We're currently landing on Claude as being kind of like the enterprise level deployment. We're getting that process started. It's going to start. We started with like 2 or 3 people just to kind of really understand what we're even dealing with. Now we're going to take it to 25 people. And then that's going to let us understand the enterprise level deployment, the guardrails, the safeties, which we'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then, phase 3, kind of once we have a good framework, is to launch it across the entity. And I'm sure that will evolve as we kind of get into the process. But I'm incredibly excited. I spend, countless hours outside of work researching, watching YouTube videos. I am in a deep, dark black hole. It is affecting my sleep. But it's also, I can tell you, I've probably not been this excited about what I'm doing. And I have been, I think everybody who knows me is I'm super passionate about outdoor hospitality, but the fact that this new horizon that's in front of us has gotten me so amped up, and I'm like burning the candle at both ends, because I want to be on the cutting edge of how we leverage this tool to make our internal operations better and how we serve our customers better. So it's exciting to hear that you guys are all kind of on that same path, because I need you to do what I have to do for the guests. So appreciate that. And the other thing I think that I took away from that conversation is the evolving nature of these tools, right? And one of my team members, Cheyenne, in the comments just said how Microsoft and Claude just announced 2 days ago they're going to have some sort of collaboration where Cowork is going to be embedded into Copilot somehow, which is fantastic, because I can't stand the current version of Cowork. It sucks. Or Copilot, rather. I'm sorry, Copilot sucks. Cowork is amazing. So that's going to be kind of adding gas. And we're a Microsoft house. And so that's super exciting stuff for us that, and again, that's what's happening in this world. It's evolving so quickly. So I want to take and kind of pivot into some kind of another question here is, as you've been going through this process, and it sounds like a lot of you guys are further ahead than we are as an organization. And that's why I wanted to talk to all of you. What are the biggest lessons that you've taken away, the biggest learns that other people would benefit from as they're starting down this journey of AI implementation and leveraging AI for different purposes? Michael, I'll let you go first this time.
Yeah, I was giving some thought to this question. So I don't know about you guys, but I sometimes get a bit of anxiety when I read an article about some new AI tool or something that a company has done using AI that just is blowing my mind. And I'm like, are we moving too slow? Why can't we do this today? Like, am I going to get left behind? And I think what I've learned to do and what I've encouraged the team to do is slow down, take a deep breath. Like, yes, get inspiration from outside sources, but the best way for us to become leaders in the use of AI is to focus on the things we actually know we need to do today and ask ourselves the question, can AI help us with these things? And through that, myself and others on the team, I think, have learned more about the capabilities of what AI can do and frankly, what it can't do, because there's also a lot of hype out there. And that's unlocked ideas for, new things to explore. But I think my advice, based on what I've learned, is to start with the work you're already doing and just ask yourself the question, is there anything about my to-do list today that can have AI applied to it? That's probably been my biggest learning so far.
No, I appreciate that. How about you, Erin?
Again, I was trying to think outside of the square. I think when a lot of people talk about AI and how it's going to create value, a lot of the conversations lead to, you've got to have really clean, solid data. You've got to have really clear processes. So I was trying to think of something outside of that. And I think for me, it's really about being intentional with change management. And so because we do hear a lot about data and processes and AI discussions, it's that change management, it's that people side that is actually just as important as the AI technology. Because at the end of the day, tech is people. People are the ones that design it. People are the ones that use it. But, without investing in that human side, AI just sits there. So, if you have a look at some of the really successful organizations that use AI, they use it as a capability and not just as a tool. And so that's investing in things like team learning, AI education, prompting skills, governance and review processes, really clear practical use cases for their teams to do. And so as I reflected back on our business and, okay, well, how did we all of a sudden get nearly 200 staff onto AI and starting to actually apply it to their day-to-day? We look at it as if it's like we're onboarding a new team member. So for the past few months, we've worked at encouraging our employees to really understand the way that AI works as their initial base. So go and investigate the different AI tools. Let's just start there with the basics. And look, I'll admit, even working for a tech company, I was a little bit scared at the start and kind of sat back and was watching some of the teams and how they started to use it. But by opening up that conversation, it really created that awareness. And so from there, it's really about how can we share those ideas of what everyone else is doing, and let's start to really promote that and kind of communicate that across the business to bring more awareness. So we've done that really, really well internally. We're showcasing ideas and strategies across the business through lunch and learns and through company all hands meetings. So I think the takeaway is, like, AI isn't the magic bullet. You've actually got to invest time into it, and you've actually got to invest time into your team to help them get on board, because not everyone is that tech savvy. So yeah, that's probably that's a lesson that I think, we've
great
really
insights. One of the questions I had, and earlier to your, Michael, what you were saying is exactly what I'm keep saying to myself personally, of like, slow down, take it easy. And then, Erin, to your point, having that foundation is so critical. In our prep meeting, you mentioned about how you guys created a prompt library to kind of empower your team members to kind of leverage the tool. Can you talk about that a little bit? And kind of what is that? How does it help them? What is that? How does that kind of expedite their kind of learning curve?
Yeah, well, I think, I'll talk about the examples that I've got from my side of the business. We're a global company working across US, Europe, Australia, and that means that we've got
midnight where you are, right?
Right now. It's
thank you, by the way.
We've got global teams, but we've also got very segmented teams as well, which are doing the same customer success functions or the same sales functions. And so for us, it was really about how can we standardize some of those processes into a platform where we can start to take each other's ideas and really start to roll them out without having to have a meeting every single week on what did you do and how did you do it. So we've kind of really built out that platform that we can start to share some of our learning, some of our tech, and just some of the prompts that we're using. Like, prompting is one of the most important things that you can learn. And I was going to talk about it a little bit later in one of the other questions, but it's really focusing on that kind of 3P process, which is really, how can you prompt it better? How can you prime it as well? So like, what's the audience? What's your tone? What's your style? What are you wanting it to do? And then really making sure that you're cross-checking that product that it kind of releases back to you. So yeah, we've been able to set up that kind of repository, and so that's how we're sharing it across the company.
Out of curiosity, and this is really a selfish question for me, is like, what platform are you using to be this kind of cross-sharing, so we don't have to meet on everybody's inventions?
Yes.
What tool are you using to kind of make that central repository?
So from a non-tech standpoint, because security is very, very important to us, so we're using Confluence. So we've got prompting pages in there where we've got that shared across the globe. And again, that is for non-tech teams.
Sure. Yeah, kind of the administrative side of, leading. Yep. No, that's very helpful to understand kind of what tools that people are also, enjoying. Like, I discovered Notebook LM last night and went down a deep, dark black hole, which was super fun and led to no sleep. But how about you, Garett? What are your team's biggest learns over there at Campground Views in implementing AI?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been mentioned, but I think a really big thing is take a deep breath, slow down. We're in a really unique situation when you think about the demographic of the workspace right now and the workplace. I mean, this is a significant advancement in technology, and we're all learning this right now in our careers. While we are currently building businesses, working with companies, there's expectations and responsibilities on us, and we're literally trying to absorb this entire new language and terminology. If we think back, and just from a lot of the people that are on this call, our demographic, we started to learn how to use computers in elementary school and in high school. So when we got to our work environment, a computer wasn't a foreign object to us. Well, now fast forward, we're, thrust into this position at work, and all of a sudden there's this heavy lift of AI that we're supposed to now learn and train ourselves without, 4 years of a university education or something along those lines behind.
So you're not developers, right? By training.
Exactly. So
or you are,
yeah. So I mean, so there's this big, it's this weight I feel that's on people's shoulders, and it's kind of dividing the learning curve, so to speak. You've got people that are absorbing it and they're able to figure it out and they're understanding all the language and terminology. And then you've got people on the other side that are just kind of lost, going, sorry, is that Spanish? What are you speaking? I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
Right? So the big learn is, hey, go slow. Don't be afraid to use different tools and implement them in your day-to-day life. Use them for finding local restaurants when you're traveling, or hotspots that are in the area. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, this is going to impact my business tomorrow and make all the businesses I work with $1 million next week. It's, hey, let me figure out what it is I need to use this for and how it can implement my day, or how it can impact my day and then my business in a positive way. So, the biggest thing is don't be intimidated by it. Just understand that it is a learning curve and you're not going to figure it out. When you hear experts talk about it and, go deep on some of these topics and you feel a little bit lost, that's okay. And it's going to be like that for the next few months, especially as the technology continues to evolve and change. So don't let that slow you down or frustrate you or take you away from wanting to jump in and learn more on the day-to-day. So that's kind of one of my takeaways.
Garett, that's kind of one of the big things that I wanted to, send a message through this conversation today, is to not be afraid, right? To embrace it, because, when you really step back and look at this, what are these LLMs? What are these tools, these agents that everybody's talking about? I liken it to, imagine doing financial analysis, which, this is kind of my world, financial analysis before Excel, right? and then Excel comes, and nobody would imagine doing financial analysis without Excel anymore, right? I think that's what these tools are, right? Is that it is the next evolution of work. And so it's important that we embrace it, because there's going to come a point in time where the old way just won't be efficient or marketable or commercial anymore. But right at the same time, what's changed and what is so different about this tool set versus when Excel was introduced is, you couldn't go to Excel and say, show me how to build a financial analysis spreadsheet, show me how to format. Like, these tools will literally teach you how to use the tools. And so, which is crazy, right? And so, and then on top of that, the way information has been democratized through tools like YouTube and everything else, that, like, search it, there's probably some creator that's already given some content out there. And so there's this accessibility to this evolution that has never existed in previous kind of technology iterations. And I think that's also changing, what's possible and how it's accessible it is for anyone to learn, regardless of your background or education. And so, I think your point is one of the things that I really wanted to make today, Garett, and I appreciate you leading us into that. That being said, right, this is not a foolproof, aim, ready, shoot type of situation. You have got to be careful with this stuff, especially when you're dealing with sensitive data, right? So I am super curious if you guys could just talk briefly on your side about kind of hazards, cautions. Like, what do you want to, like, we want people to dive in, right? But we want them to do it intelligently. We want to do it safely. What are some thoughts that you guys have on that?
Yeah, I would say to that, don't rely on it wholeheartedly and don't put everything into it just yet. There's been many cases already out there where companies have put extreme amounts of data into a certain program, and hours later that program was no longer accessible, right? So, the caution would be is, don't really trust everything that's in front of you just yet when it comes to these tools, because of the evolution of them. So you don't want to rely on them and then find out, you come into work the next day and that program and that software is no longer available and you can't access your information. As I said, there's been a lot of examples of that taking place already. So the caution would be is, be sure that the tool that you are using is creditable. There's a lot of tools that are popping up. There's the money that we're seeing pouring into investing into these tools I don't know if we've ever seen anything like it before. And there's a lot of people that are out there that are, creating some of these tools, and they're not going to be around for very long. So I wouldn't rush to put too much of my business into some of these tools just yet until they're tried and tested. I know that they're going to be available for me down the road.
That's a great point. Great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go, Michael. I just echoing that, like, think about the strategy and not necessarily the tool. I think I could not sing this any louder as well. I think it's, really pause and be clear on your goals and what you're trying to do, and really understand what is the output that you're trying to get before you jump in and start using AI, and start investigating on that AI platform how you might be able to do that. But it is also very, very important to invest in trust and security on these platforms as well. And so AI can amplify mistakes as easy as it can go and, create great new content or execute on financials and guest information and so forth as well. So it's really important that for any kind of park operator that is starting to use AI is just know what kind of sensitive guest information you're uploading and operational data you're feeding into tools is actually being handled securely. You don't want to go in there uploading PII information, email addresses of customers, those sorts of things, without really understanding your tools and having the right security protocols backed into there. So I think number one, like, protect your data and make sure that you're not uploading data that maybe, if you're using a platform that is disappearing tomorrow, all of a sudden they've got guest data or financial data that you're not wanting out in there as well. I think, it's huge, right? And I think we trust the tools. Because it's called ChatGPT or it's a Gemini and the name is, it's out there in the industry, everyone just automatically trusts it. But please do your investigation. Make sure you're looking at the security side of things first. And I think as well, just, some hazards, just as I said before, invest time into your team, like define rules and really set clear boundaries for what they should be using AI for when they're working within your business and using access to some of your data points as well. So, outside of the way that you use it and how you should slow down and use it, I think that's probably a point that I really wanted to get across today, is just be careful as well.
No, appreciate that, Erin. That's really good insights. How about you, Michael?
Yeah, I think a good mental model for all of these tools is think about it like a junior employee or an intern. It can absolutely, every one of these tools can absolutely do work that was previously done by humans. The tools are not at a point yet where you would trust them like a senior executive or a really seasoned employee or someone who's a specialist in their field. To use your example, Raf, like absolutely, let's use AI to build the financial model. I don't want to trust the AI tool to tell me what my 2026 financial plan should be and spend across, all of these different categories. That's still something that I want a specialist to do. And so when we think about software development, we're always trying to balance moving fast with also mitigating risk. I would never take a junior developer his or her first week on the job and have them work on a feature that touches financial accounting for campgrounds. Way too dangerous. And if they screw up, I am going to have a lot of unhappy customers. That's the type of work that's reserved for a senior developer. And it's not an area that we're extensively using AI versus something that's brand new that doesn't touch another part of our system. Let's let AI go wild with it. The other thing I wanted to call out is that while AI has created a lot of capabilities for us as business operators to move faster and be more efficient, it's also created tools for bad actors out there to move faster and be more efficient. And we have seen a dramatic increase in the number of and the complexity of attempted malicious attacks on us and on our campground partners. We are saving lots of time in things that used to take us longer to develop. We're able to develop faster. We're also now having to add in a lot more time to fend off attacks from bad guys. And I just think this is a risk that's only going to keep increasing. And that means, to points that both Erin and Garett made, when you're partnering with third-party vendors, think about not just the safety of your data based on what those people can do, but also on how safe those entities are, and are they, do they really have the infrastructure to protect you against these growing threats?
No, that's tremendous points made by all of you. And, kind of to build on some of it, one of the things in our AI deployment strategy is this concept of data classification, right? Is putting definition about what's class 1 data, what is class 2 data, what is class 3 data. And you use the term PII, which for the listeners who don't know what that is, that's personal identifying information, correct? And so this is, sensitive information that, you guys are able to collect in that kind of booking process that, you don't want out into the general public. And so understanding what data you're working with, right? Class 1, for example, is just like, it's in the public domain, it's research. This is stuff that's kind of low risk when using an LLM to manipulate or collate. But when you kind of go up that tier category, that data is becoming more and more sensitive to include, accounting processes, because then you're getting into stuff that is really, has a significant compliance component to it, right? And we have to be extra cautious that we're, understanding what those ramifications are if we get it wrong. So fantastic conversation. I want to pivot. This is a super selfish segment for me. And, you guys are 3 leaders in this industry that I've gotten to know very well, that I respect incredibly and admire. I want to know, outside of AI, what's inspiring you? Is it a book, a podcast, something that's really kind of moved you, motivated you? Because I'm always on the hunt for this as well. So why don't you go ahead and lead us off, Garett?
Yeah, thanks. I think for me, what's inspiring me right now is coming to terms with what I feel like is the back half of my career. I'm over 2 decades now being in sales, leadership, sales training, And for me, I've just kind of come to this realization of I really want to invest my energy right now into giving people the knowledge that I have learned and I have been given from some incredible leaders. This past weekend, I was actually able to spend some time with the guy that trained me in sales 21 years ago.
Wow.
And I was able to spend time with him, his family, his 4 kids in Dallas, Texas. He's doing really well. And I think back to the investment that he made into me that day and showed me the opportunity to, go out and really achieve what I wanted to in a commission-based role, and that I could go out and I could be successful, and I didn't have to have a limitation on what that success looked like today. And I just recently was appointed chair of the Young Professionals Board at Care Camps. So Care Camps Foundation is putting together a new Young Professionals Board to help grow the Care Camps Foundation. And Jenna came to me and said, "Hey, Garett, we'd like to ask that you chair this board." And as I started to come to the realization again of, if you're starting to be on boards and chairing that, you've got some weather behind you in the workspace. So, it's a great opportunity for me to work with the 20 to 40-year-old age category. And again, just pass on my knowledge, show them the tools and the things that I've been blessed with from so many leaders, and show them how they can be successful and how, any obstacles that they're going to face in their professional life, their personal life, they can overcome those things. So I'm really excited right now about that opportunity, working with the Care Camps Foundation. And I'm just always kind of looking forward to training the next person. And what I love when people come up to me at events or on LinkedIn, when they message me and they say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this in sales. Can you help me out with my business?" And I spend a lot of time and speaking with people and meeting with people outside of work hours and outside of Campground Views. And I just really, really enjoy the training aspect of what I have going on right now and being able to pass on my knowledge. So, Raf, that's what's really, motivating me. That's what's lighting me up right now. Of course, I love my role at Campground Views. I love the industry. I love working with all of you folks and seeing you at events and conferences, especially here over the next couple of weeks as I'm traveling around. But I really do enjoy passing on my knowledge to the next generation. I hope that they can be, more successful than myself in the coming years.
That's awesome, Garett. And I feel you on that. But just to clarify, you're on a Young Professionals Committee in a mentorship capacity, right? I'm not sure you meet the qualifications anymore to be a member.
Yeah. No, I when I was asked to be the chair of this board, I did very well state my age and let them know I wanted to, hey, I was outside of this age category, unfortunately. But I think that's why I was chosen to be the chair, so I could use that wisdom.
I love that.
Thank you.
How about you, Erin? What's inspiring you today?
I think Garett's inspired me. That passion. I absolutely love that. I love that. It's great, Garett. For me at the moment, it's probably my kids. They've reignited this new energy in me recently. And, I knew you were going to pose this question. We did have a little bit of insight into this. But my daughter just started school recently, and watching her be curious and really saying no to things naturally because she's tired. And it's really just reminded me that it is actually okay to protect my time and energy and my focus. And I feel like, we're in March of 2026, and I feel like it's already December and we're about to start a new year again. Like, I'm exhausted already. But, being a mum of 2 and leading a global business, managing external pressures, trying to prove yourself, it's easy to slip into that state of feeling like you just need to do it all and you just need to keep going. So I think actually sitting back and watching her say, "No, Mum, I'm not going to do that thing that you've asked me to do, or I'm not going to do that sporting event that you want to put me in," has actually made me sit back and reflect to myself. I'm a really big believer in being 1% better every day. And I know it's a bit cliche, but I really do try to work on myself, because 1% every day is 365% by the end of the year. But I draw a lot of, inspiration by going back and listening to different podcasts. A big one that, Raf, we talked about the other day, Diary of a CEO, Simon Sinek. It just gives you those reminders of some of those pivotal things that you used to do at the start of the career that was really important to you, that you really slip back and fall into. So, yeah, for me, I'm all on self-reflection at the moment, slowing down myself and actually realizing that if I reinvest time back into myself, it's actually going to make me better for my team, my family, the way that I show up. So yeah, I think it's my daughter that's free.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. One of my favorite sayings in the world is, if you want to get anything done, give it to a busy mom. Because you guys have an incredible superpower for multitasking that I don't know where it comes from or how you do it, but I respect it. I'll tell you that much. And we have a lot of same career-minded super moms here at Blue Water that really make this place run. How about you, Michael? What's lighting your fire these days?
A lot, but I was reflecting on this question in preparation for today, and I read a lot. I'm a huge bookworm, and a book that I read recently that had been recommended to me for years, but I'd been putting it off, and I finally read it, was called Unreasonable Hospitality. It's the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. Have you guys read this?
Oh yeah,
you have.
Yeah,
So
I read it. Yeah.
It's the former.
It's required
GM
reading on this side of the table.
Yeah. So it's the former GM of 11 Madison Park, which is a famous restaurant in New York, and it's sort of his journey making it into one of the top restaurants in the world. And from that, or really to drive that, really like leaning into the power of creating magic for people, really creating that human connection, surprises that people didn't expect. And that's really what hospitality is all about. And it was this full circle moment for me because, I started my career in hospitality, and I learned, 90% of what I know today from standing behind the front desk of a hotel. And I think the farther away I've gotten from direct guest service, the more I've needed to remind myself that that's really what this is all about. Whether you are on the front lines serving a guest, or you're operating a business like a campground that focuses on serving guests, or you're in a business like mine, which is serving the operators who serve the guests, I think we have to really remember that there's this common thread of hospitality. And when I get a little stressed or get a little bored or just need some inspiration, I think leaning into that and remembering the hospitality at the end of it is something that's been a good grounding focus for me.
That is a fantastic book, and like I said, if you're in the hospitality business, you have to read it. It's slowly but surely becoming the Bible of our industry, and I think what is going to be the people that win are going to follow that recipe book. But just as a follow on to that, I don't know if you've seen The Bear I think it's on Hulu. That's like a great kind of bolt on to that book, because it kind of is obviously a drama show, but it implements and brings a lot of those ideas to life visually, which is really, it was a nice thing because I just happened to start watching it right after I read the book, and I'm like, oh my God. And then it turns out he's like a producer, an executive producer on the show, or contributes somehow, which was really cool to see.
I did it in the opposite order, and I had this weird realization that all of these scenes from The Bear were taken directly from the book. So
yeah. Well, in many
way.
ways, the correlations are wild. No, I can't thank you guys enough for that. So we're getting close to the end of our time. We could probably sit here and talk for 5 or 6 hours, but we got to keep this efficient. We all got work. Erin's got to go to sleep for crying out loud. So last piece, and then we'll wrap this up. But let's do just what's the one parting thought you want to leave the audience today out of this whole conversation? Go ahead, Erin, you kick us off so you can go to bed.
I think don't be afraid, don't be afraid. You've got to start small, but just start, and I think for an operator that might be watching this, start with some of the small things. Go and use AI, plug in, go and copy down your booking confirmations, put them in there. See what new ideas they can give you. See how they can reflect your brand or tone a little bit differently. Have a look at the way that you're using your property descriptions on your website. Upload them to AI. Get a new refresh, a new look. I think just start small, but actually make sure you're starting with AI, because I think the greatest risk that we have, and even in parks themselves, is that by doing nothing, you're actually putting yourself at greater risk. So experiment, learn, start with some of the basics. And when you're at conferences and when you're seeing companies like us as well, lean in on these conversations, lean in on some of those TED Talks and things that you do here out in the industry as well. Because I think, there's a lot of people that will share a lot of information with you, but start with the basics, get that down pat, and then you'll start to see how you can really start to leverage it and grow.
I love that. That's a great message. Garett.
Yeah, I would say, you need to realize that we are in one of the most extreme technological phases of turnover right now that we're facing with AI. And, you need to invest into yourself to learn it and understand it and keep up with it. If I'm a business owner or an operator, the word can't does not exist in the organization. We have more tools at our fingertips now than ever before to be able to learn or overcome an obstacle or challenge that we are faced with. So I would be very disciplined with myself and very disciplined with my team in challenging them to figure out how to utilize these tools immediately so they can win. And the people who are willing to invest the energy right now, they're the ones that are going to win 6, 12, 24 months from now. So that would kind of be my final thought on where you need to go with this.
Love that. Love that. Just had a quick question in the chat about the book that Michael mentioned, and it's Unreasonable Hospitality by Will, is it Guardia?
Guidara. Yep.
Guidara. Will Guidara. Yep. So that's the book, Eli. All right. Last but certainly not least, Michael, what's your parting thought?
So I hope my parting thought isn't too contrarian, because this conversation has all been about how the world is changing and we all need to adapt. And I do genuinely believe that adoption of AI is going to differentiate the winners from the losers in businesses like mine and Erin's and Garett's. But I'm actually not so sure it's going to completely differentiate between the winners and the losers in campground operations, because there's a lot changing, but the majority of what campground operators do is not changing. Even if you go back pre-internet, 75% of the experience of going camping looked a lot like it does today. And so I think we should all push ourselves. I think we should all use the tools at our disposal. But if you're feeling like you need to focus 100% of your attention on AI, remember that what actually differentiates successful and unsuccessful campgrounds is largely not their use of technology, but what they do with the rest of their time, the guest service, the hospitality, the memorable experiences that they create for their guests. And so just keep it all in perspective is my parting thought.
No, I mean, guys, this has been an incredible conversation, right? We kind of road mapped it, but we didn't talk through all these points. And I can tell you that I've got some serious takeaways that I'm going to be putting into my personal implementation strategy here at Blue Water. And I will be probably following up with all of you individually for a few more questions that I have bouncing around in my head. But I think you guys have absolutely provided some real practical guidance and framework really on how people can think about AI and their business and how it specifically, will apply or will and won't apply to outdoor hospitality, which is, kind of all of our collective passions. So thank you so much for doing this and being a part of this. This has been incredibly educational for me. I hope it's been educational for the folks that have tuned in. And I don't think this is going to be the last time I do one of these because it's too valuable. So if there's anybody out there that's listening or watching this and, wants to maybe jump in on one of these LinkedIn Lives and participate in one of these conversations, please reach out to me, because I think that there is a lot of wealth of knowledge to help advance. And we're a big, at Blue Water, we believe high tides raise all ships. And that's what we want to see happen in the outdoor hospitality industry. So with that, thank you again. Deeply grateful. And I'll be talking to each of you soon enough.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks.